Yes, Rome, the inventors of plagiarism, and the origin of the languages 1/8 of the world population speaks. It truly is an enigma, that place. They lose a ton of soldiers and then just magically produce another army within months. Where did they come from? I don't know. There is also slavery, and this sort of exists in the modern world, as in the US at least. The 13th Amendment does not apply to prisoners. God bless the USA. Anyways, Glad-iator released on the 1st of May in the year 2000. It follows Maximus Meridius, played by Russell Crowe, as he falls from grace and holy crap, he becomes a gladiator. It's also worth noting that the Joker is the main villain of the story. The movie opens up to live Mountain Blade gameplay where we get to see Maximus' skill as a commander. He leads his men into battle and scores an epic dub for Rome. And the children of the Imperator, Marcus Aurelius, show up. As is tradition with royal families, they are in an incestuous relationship. Yeah. Marcus has a nice chat with Maximus where he says that he doesn't want his gross son Commodus to run the country. Instead, he wants Maximus to rule until power is given back to the people of Rome. A nice wish, but unfortunately, Commodus epically murders him and takes power. He sends Maximus and his family to be executed, but however, Maximus is able to escape. He rides to his house only to find that his family has been executed. Skill issue. He passes out and wakes up in a cage being sent to Zuccabar, along with other men, who were also put into slavery. When he gets there, he and the others are sold to Proximo. Proximo trains them into gladiators because that's his job, and in no time we see Maximus ready to gladiate the gladi opposition in the glad arena. The fight starts, and eventually Maximus and the guy he was tied to win, through a thorough gladiating of their gladi opponents. As more fights happen, Commodus arrives in Rome, and the people there don't really like him. More importantly, Maximus is popular and has a chat with Proximo after yelling his signature catchphrase. Then they decide to head to Rome to fight in the Colosseum. In Rome, Proximo's like, "It takes a great gladiator 2,000 to survive the Colosseum." Sometime after dropping this fire line, Maximus has a chat with Lucius, the son of Lucilla, the sister of Commodus. The time comes to gladiate once more in the glad arena, and Maximum leads a group of barbarians against some cavalry. Historically, the barbarians lost the battle, so it doesn't make much sense when they win. Upset that the fight does not go as planned, Commodus walks out into the arena to speak to Maximus. He is very shocked when the Glad-iator 2000 reveals his identity as Maximus, the guy that was supposed to be dead for a while now. Although Maximus would have killed Commodus right then and there, Lucius was there, so he had to suppress the intrusive masculine urge to murder the person in front of him, something I failed to do on. Maximus is allowed to live and the games continue. Lucilla talks to him about fear or whatever. Commodus is freaking out and yada yada. We're not here to see talking scenes, are we? We're here to see big strong men fight, yeah. Tigris versus the Spaniard. Let's go, baby. Unfortunately, Commodus rigged the fight, so it appears Maximus might die. Oh. Easy dubs for Maximus, who decides to spare Tigris despite the audience chanting for his death. Commodus is then in shambles as the people praise Maximus the Merciful. Commodus walks out into the arena to speak to Maximus again. Commodus tries to provoke Maximus into a fight so he could have an excuse to kill Maximus, but it fails and the story goes on. Commodus grows ever more paranoid that someone is out to get him, as various people plot to get him. Lucilla and a senator talk to Maximus some more, and they get a plan together to get him out of Rome and to his men in Germania. Maximus talks to Proximo and is able to convince him to let go of Maximus. Unfortunately, Lucius fanboys over Maximus a little too hard and calls him the savior of Rome, within hearing distance of Commodus. This kind of reveals the plot, and many people are in danger because of this, so they have to rush to complete the plan. This expectedly fails, and Maximus is captured. Commodus is feeling a little cocky and decides to duel Maximus in the Colosseum. To make sure he wins, he cheats by literally stabbing Maximus in the back. Fortunately, it takes a lot more than that to bring down a Glad-iator 2000, and so he stands up and says, "Guess I'm some sort of gladiator." And then he says, "It's entertaining time." And then he proceeds to entertain the entire crowd when he stabs Commodus, which kills him, and then he bleeds all over the Colosseum and all around. And like the people all around are like, "This truly was a Glad-iator 2000." And then I was like, this joke hasn't been funny since more posting was a thing. Marcus Aurelius isn't alive. I give this movie a 5 out of 5. I stan a movie that is able to have audible dialogue. I'm looking at you, Argo. Also regarding sound, Hans Zimmer composed the soundtrack, so it automatically takes a fat dub, as well as some awards. Finally, my ears actors are blessed, like the time it took nails and scratched them on a chalkboard. You should try. You really should try. Moving on, the cinematography was great, and it also won awards. There are a plethora of good shots to look at throughout the movie, and I also like how the lighting reflects the mood in certain scenes, like how it's dark and cloudy in Germania. The editing was good. I've been saying the same few sentences about editing this entire time, and despite doing it myself, I really don't know what to say still. Regardless, it is true that the editing was quality, so it won awards too. It certainly did come together nicely. The narrative was the greatest in fiction until my invention of the Garfunkel and Yellow Tyrant comic series with a fanbase of full 2 people. The characters were interesting, and they actually felt like human beings. I liked seeing Maximus rise from his fall and succeeding despite the odds. Considering this, it isn't a surprise that the movie also won more awards for a good story. The mise-en-scène is the same as always. The setting looked how I imagine it would. People wore robes, tunics, or armor. There were horses, swords, shields. Now, I would pull out my nerd glasses and say,
actually, the sword fights are actually inaccurate because they twirled, and yeah, that was a really bad thing to do, and Maximus would have died
in the real world, but I really do not care. All in all, a great movie. Definitely would rewatch sometime later. This truly is a high point in the history of cinema.